So where did we left off at? We left off at, I was about to tell you about my story about my abusive baby father. So I'm going to make this short because I noticed that the last video I made, it was like 20 minutes long, but it felt good that I was even talking and just releasing that. Okay. So we're going to start when I had to move back, when I had to go into the foster care in Freeport. I went to a new home. It was like a group home. It was nothing but girls. It was about 6 of us. I had to share a room with another girl, and then two girls, whatever. This woman, she didn't really care no shit about us. She was just getting kids to get money, to be honest. She didn't care if we came or left. It was just so different because coming from a restricted home in North Babylon, the other homes I went to, I realized that they really didn't care as much as the home I came from in North Babylon with my 2 little sisters. I realized that, once I got there, you know what I mean, that I was literally on my own again, right? I wasn't scared because it was something that I just knew, something that I've been doing for a while. So anyway, so after they moved me to this home, because I was a young adult, I was 18, I already graduated from high school. This home was doing like a transition for me to be out in the real world, right? So they registered for me to college. I had no idea what I was doing in college. They helped me find this job at McDonald's. So I going to school, cutting, wasn't really going to class, smoking weed, with the student in the student lounge and all that crap, what I was doing. So at my job, McDonald's, I met my baby father. He used to come through the drive-through, and he used to always flurry me like, oh, put your number in the bag after I order, blah, blah, blah. So one day I gave in. He came in, and then I gave him my number. Anyway, he came from a family, they had money. To me, they had money. He lived in his big house. He had his own room. It was him, his sister, and then his father. He didn't have a mother that lived in the home. And his father was very abusive, right? After I found this out later on. So anyway, we hook up. I ended up getting pregnant by him. And I didn't want to have this child because he was abusive. Even when we was just dating before I had my baby, he used to, push me around. He never really hit me during that time, but he used to punch walls, punch windows out, cut up his hand, just crazy shit. And I used to think like, oh my God, this guy really loves me. Like he's just doing all this crazy shit when I want to break. He's doing all this crazy shit just because I want to break up with him. So every time he did, every time I wanted to break up or he did something wrong, he would go off. He would stalk me, come to my house, and he would just do crazy stuff. And I used to take him back because I used to be like, oh my God, this guy really loved me. I ended up getting pregnant by him. It got worse. Then he started physically putting his hands on me. Okay. And so because he started putting his hands on me and I was pregnant, the agency kind of knew I was getting abuse and stuff like that. So they asked the lady that I graduated in Amityville, can she take me back into the home because I was pregnant? Because the home I was in, Freeport, no one was pregnant. You know what I mean? So she didn't want that type of child in her house, because she didn't want to take no kids. So the foster mother at Amityville, she agreed to take me back while I was pregnant, and I'm grateful for that. So when I ended up going back, I was trying to get an abortion because I did not want to deal with him. I did not want to have a baby. It's like, where am I bringing this baby to? So I tried to get rid of my son at least 3 times. The 4th time when I went, okay, so I'm trying to get rid of my child. My baby father saying he's going to pay for the abortion for me. We go to the clinic. He reneges on me. He tries to fight me, and then he leaves me and don't pay for the abortion. That happened maybe twice. So the 3rd time when I went back to get an abortion, they told me I was too far gone. I was like 4 months, and it was like, no, you can't do it here no more. You got to go somewhere. You got to go to the hospital. So the foster mother ended up giving me health insurance where they sent me to the hospital. When I went to the hospital, they told me they was going to stick these little stems in me, and for me to go home, and I'm going to have I'm going to start going in labor, and then once I feel those labor pains to come back. So it was like an orientation or whatever. So I go home, And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get rid of this baby. You know what I mean? Because this man is fucking stalking me, and he's just harassing me. He's beating me up all the time. So being in Amityville, he didn't really know where I was at. So one day I was supposed to go back the next day to get the stems put in me so I could start the procedure. So I go to bed, and this was a dream, but I didn't even know it was a dream. So my dream was that this person came to me and tapped me and woke me up out of my sleep in the bed. And she was like, do you know what you're getting ready to do? And I was like, what are you talking about? She said, do you know what you're getting ready to do? And I was like, yeah, I'm about to have this abortion because I can't take this baby. This man is abusive. He's beating me up. And she's like, let me show you the stages of your baby. So I got up from out of the bed, and in the living room, there was a bookshelf. And the woman took me over to the bookshelf, and she pulled out this book that had all these stages of how the baby was born. And she was like, this is first month, second month, third month. She said, your baby, this is your baby. Your baby got legs, fingers, eyes, it got a heartbeat, and you're about to kill the baby. And I was like, in so much words, I was like shocked. I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. And she's like, yeah. So she was like, you shouldn't do this. You can do it on your own. You don't need no man. You're well protected by the angels and stuff like that. So I was like, okay. So, I didn't even know it was a dream when I woke up. I woke up and, my foster mother came back with her daughter. And, they was all talking. They was like, okay, you got to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning. I said, oh, I'm not going. And she said, you're not going? I said, yeah, because your friend woke me up and showed me the stages of my baby. And she was like, what friend? And I was like, your friend. She was here. And she's like, there's nobody here but you. She said, we left you sleeping in the bed. And I was like, no. And I ran to the bookshop looking for the book, and it wasn't there. And I was explaining to her that this woman woke me up out of my sleep, walked me over to the bookshelf, and showed me the stages of my baby. She said, girl, you crazy. Ain't nobody woke you up. Ain't nobody in this house. So I started bawling. I was like, oh my God, that was an angel. I can't kill the baby. I can't do it. She's like, what? She said, you got to go. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then she talked to me, and she was like, okay, then you can have the baby. She said, but you can't stay here with the baby. She said, you can have the baby, but after that, you and the baby got to go. So I didn't really care. I was like, all right, I'm having my baby. You know what I mean? Because I didn't care. So I had the baby, and so after the baby, I had to let the father know. I had to let him know that I was keeping the baby. So when I told him I was keeping the baby, his father knew I was keeping the baby and all of this. And then I ended up having the baby. I had a C-section. So after I had the baby, they took my baby away. They took my baby away and put my child in foster care because they said that I wasn't able to take care of my kid. And I was like, no, I want my child. I want my child. And I was like, no, I want my child. So I go back to this foster home in Amityville where I was at. And she was like, you can't stay here with the baby because my house is not quick. I was like, I want my child. So my child ended up going into foster care for a good 2 months. For 2 fucking months, I didn't have my baby. This is my oldest son. I didn't have my baby, and I fought for my baby to come out of foster care. Okay, and so did his father. His father helped me get my child back. Right? And the only way I got my child back is because me and him got an apartment together. So his father ended up getting me an apartment, getting a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens, so me and him could live in. So they ended up giving me back my baby at 2 or 3 months old, and I ended up moving into the house with him, and it was fucking hell. This nigga used to fuck me up all the time in this apartment. We used to fight all the time. He used to think that I was out doing cheating on him or whatever. I don't know why he always was so abusive to me. But I knew why, because his father did the same thing to his mother. His mother left him and his sister and his brother when they were little kids. So I used to always say, if your mother left you as babies, your father must have been fucking her up. And his father had a girlfriend, and I used to hear, when I used to go over to his house, I used to hear his father fucking up his girlfriend. You get what I'm saying? So that he learned that abuse from his dad, and then it trickled down onto him. You get what I'm saying? And then we had this apartment in Queens, and that's all he did. So I finally told my sister, I used to go by my sister with my son, and I finally told her what was going on with me. He was beating me up, just blacking out my eye. Like one time we all went out to eat, he flipped out on me in front of my mother, in front of my sister. It was wild. So one day when he went to work, I packed my shit up and I moved in with my sister, with my child. I moved in with my sister, with my child. I had a fucking enough, and that was even worse. The nigga used to come and fucking stalk me at my sister's house. I was working for Chase Bank. He used to come up to Chase Bank and stalk me there and fuck me up there. I mean, it was just a horrible time in my life with my child. You understand? I'm going to end it here because I don't want to make this story so long. So long short story is that when I had my firstborn child, I was in an abusive relationship. And I mean abusive. I mean, I can't even tell you like the things I went through. I'm like skipping over a lot of shit, but I went through an abusive relationship. And then to the point that he used to abuse me so much, I ended up giving him my child. Because he used to use that as an excuse, like to always come by and harass me. So I ended up giving him my son to take care because I was still unstable. I was living in my sister's house on a couch and he was living there with me. She was getting tired of that shit. So I ended up leaving. I ended up giving him my child to take to Virginia. And that was the fucking worst thing I ever did in my life. I'm telling you, that was the worst thing I did in my life. But we're going to continue. I guess I'll start off where my son was in Virginia. He didn't want to give me back my child. I went through hell. I couldn't even call the cops. So yeah, we'll continue to